structure apparently has 5 key factions, which Corey Goode has described in our show Cosmic Disclosure. You have the original faction being Solar Warden, which is like the police force in our solar system. Then you have the Dark Fleet, which is the Draco working with humans on Earth in their industrial and their empire expansion plans. You have the ICC, or the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, which is a group that started as the defense contractors and seems to have gone off on its own, has very highly advanced technology, and apparently is in regular trade with 900 different intelligent civilizations. We also have the Global Galactic League of Nations group, which appears to be a sort of interplanetary United Nations, something that was offered to various governments on Earth to help keep them quiet so nobody would want to blow the whistle. And there's also a military faction which essentially provides staffing and logistics for some of these other factions, and that is centered in what they call the LOC, or the Lunar Operations Command. So what has happened now is that because of this widespread and extensive trade with a wide variety of intelligent civilizations, our own military-industrial complex has been engaging in trade. There's no money out there in space with these various civilizations. You have to trade value for value. So what keeps happening is technology is one of the things that's being exchanged. There's a wide variety of customers from all over the place who are coming here to take part in the technology that we have. And so in their craft, they actually have parts that will say Boeing and McDonnell Douglas and Lockheed Martin while they're out there flying around the galaxy. It's truly an incredible story, but apparently the human race is very industrious and very capable of building good things. Even though we are like Neanderthals in terms of our spiritual level, we are highly technologically advanced. And the time needs to come where the walls of secrecy come down and these technologies are shared with the planet.
While the ULA is successfully disclosing their plans for building living arrangements in space, is it possible that factions of NASA are disclosing, quote, mysteries of the solar system, unquote, for us to figure out the truth on our own? If this information is true, then throughout the years of the secret space program, the information to the public needed to be a slow release.
The Brookings Institute of 1960 issued a report that discussed essentially what would happen to human civilization if we discovered intelligent life. What would the implications be for human civilization? There were a lot of perceptive things about this report, in fact. I think the main thing that it indicated was that we ourselves would be in danger of a certain level of dissolution of the coherence of our own society in the event that we discovered extraterrestrial life. I mean, think about how during the age of European exploration of, say, Africa, when they would encounter very technologically primitive African tribes, or tribes in South America. And so the Brookings Institute really said essentially the same thing. This would happen to human civilization. And the idea was that if it were discovered, that it would have to be a strong consideration to keep such a thing secret.
I think if they decided to do full disclosure, the people on this planet can actually handle it. According to contrary belief, it's the economies are going to collapse and people are going to go crazy and run down the street pulling their hair out. I don't believe that. I believe that people are very resilient. Human beings are very resilient on this planet. We've been through so much already that this information actually, I believe, would liberate the human species, and I think they know that. This is why everything has been coming in drips and drips and drips.
Looking at the dirt here on the Martian surface, there's nothing there, and in the very next image, we see this worm-looking object moving through the dirt. And if you follow what NASA would tell us about Mars, you'll realize how amazing this evidence is. I mean, it's plain as day. Look at it. This thing is wiggling up out of the dirt, whatever it is. And it proves that there's more to Mars than just simple microbial life, if that.
Images like these have experts reeling with more questions for NASA. Is it possible that the NASA we know today is hoping we ask these questions? And if so, why? In April of 2015, NASA announced that they had successfully tested electromagnetic propulsion drives that could facilitate space travel.
In recent years, there's been these
propulsion systems that have been proposed, which are called EM drives or electromagnetic drives. They've come up through private industry, and basically what they are is these containers, basically closed metal boxes with one open end and one kind of a closed end, and they just bounce microwaves around inside of them. And somehow, against all the supposed laws of physics, this generates forward thrust. NASA announced in April that they've tested this multiple times, that they've generated thrust on each and every occasion, small amounts of thrust, but thrust nevertheless. It doesn't take a whole lot of forward thrust to break the laws of physics and end Newton's laws of thermodynamics. I mean, it just takes one little bit. It really appears that we're on the verge of a new propulsion system which can take us maybe even to the stars at speeds we never imagined before. It's very similar to the work of T. Townsend Brown, who found that when you electrified a disc-shaped object, you got a positive charge at one end and a negative charge at the other end, and then the object would move forward in the direction of the positive charge. And this, again, defies all laws of physics because electricity cannot negate gravity. I cannot imagine the NASA of 10 years ago buying into this at all. I think they would have totally suppressed this information. They would have said our tests failed. They would have lied through their teeth. And it's fascinating that NASA is now coming out and admitting that this mechanism that defies the laws of physics, this EM drive, apparently actually works. That's astonishing, and it appears to me to be part of the private disclosure process. We're just going to say, yeah, it works, and that means the laws of physics are not laws at all. I mean, there's so many huge implications to that I'm astonished they actually went forward with that announcement, but it does seem to me to signal that we're going to start getting more good stuff out of NASA. They've probably known how to do this for years, but now they're finally telling us about it.
Researchers have gathered that NASA works with Hollywood to also slowly release disclosure on their secret programs.
We know has all these connections, political connections, space connections, alien connections. And in it, what's depicted is that when we went to the moon, we actually went dark, slipped away from the actual landing site, and went and investigated these ancient alien ruins, which of course in the motif of the film were the Transformers. They even got Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, to make a guest appearance where he talked about all the secret stuff that they found on the moon, which to me is, again, kind of mind-blowing because NASA and Buzz have always denied that kind of thing, and NASA cooperated with this film. So what you're seeing is that NASA is cooperating with a film that says that NASA is a bunch of liars and that we went to the moon and found all kinds of ancient technology and artifacts, which personally